Today, I'm going to walk you through the hidden hormone that quietly shapes how strong, energetic, and mentally sharp you feel after 60E, and the four things research shows have the biggest influence on it. Fair warning, the last one is the one most men over 60 get completely wrong, and fixing it alone can change how you feel within weeks. But before we get to that, I need you to do one thing. Check whether you recognize any of these 5 signs. If even one applies to you, your body may already be telling you something important, and this video could change how you think about the next 20 years of your health. Let's get started. Stay with me all the way to the end, because I'm also going to walk you through a simple daily routine that pulls all 4 factors together, and a warning about supplements that I really don't want you to skip. 5 signs. Your hormones may be shifting. Here are 5 of the most common signs that testosterone, the hormone most closely tied to a man's strength, drive, and energy, may be declining faster than it should. If you notice even one of these, it's worth paying attention. 1. Energy that disappears by early afternoon. Not just normal tiredness after a long day, but a heaviness that sets in no matter how much sleep you got. Testosterone plays a role in how your body converts fuel into usable energy, and when levels drop, that engine simply doesn't run the way it used to. 2. Muscle that's harder to build and fat that's easier to gain. You're eating roughly the same, maybe even exercising, but your body composition keeps shifting. Less muscle, more stubborn fat around the midsection. Testosterone supports muscle protein synthesis, so when it declines, your body tends to hold on to fat and let go of lean tissue more easily. 3. Mood that feels flatter than it used to. Less drive, less motivation, a kind of quiet flatness where things that used to excite you just don't anymore. Hormonal shifts influence brain chemistry tied to motivation and mood, so this isn't just getting older, it can be biology talking. 4. Sleep that doesn't feel restorative. Waking up tired even after a full night, or sleep that's lighter and more broken than it used to be. This matters enormously because most of your testosterone is actually produced while you sleep, which means poor sleep and low testosterone can feed each other in a frustrating cycle. 5. A noticeably lower interest in intimacy. This is one of the most recognized signs, and one many men are reluctant to bring up, even with their own doctor. It's a real physiological signal, not a personal failing, and it's worth taking seriously rather than quietly living with. If any of these sound familiar, take a breath. This is exactly what we're here to talk through. Let's look at the 4 things that most influence this hormone as you age, starting with the one almost nobody thinks about first. Factor 1. Sleep, where the hormone is actually made. Most people think testosterone is about diet or exercise first. It isn't. It's about sleep first. The majority of your daily testosterone release happens during deep sleep, particularly in the earlier hours of the night. If that sleep is short, broken, or shallow, your body simply doesn't get the window it needs to do this work. Here's a simple way to picture it. Think of your body as a factory that only runs its most important production line for a few hours each night while everything is quiet and the lights are dim. Cut that shift short, and the whole day's output falls behind, no matter how good your raw materials are. Research bears this out clearly. Men who sleep only 4 to 5 hours a night show measurably lower testosterone than men getting 7 to 9 hours, and on average, each additional hour of quality sleep is associated with a meaningful rise in testosterone output. That's not a small effect. That's one of the most powerful, completely free levers available to you. Sleep apnea deserves a special mention here. If you snore heavily, wake up gasping, or your partner has mentioned pauses in your breathing at night, that's worth raising with a doctor specifically. Untreated sleep apnea is strongly linked to lower testosterone, and it's a fixable problem once it's identified. What actually helps? A consistent bedtime and wake time, even on weekends. A cool, dark room. Cutting off caffeine by early afternoon. And putting the phone down at least 30 minutes before bed. The blue light delays your natural melatonin release and pushes you toward that shallow, broken sleep that undercuts everything else you're doing for your health. Get this one piece right, and everything else on this list works better. Now let's talk about the second factor, one that's almost as powerful and one your body responds to at any age. Factor 2, movement, especially the kind that challenges your muscles. The second major influence on healthy testosterone levels is physical activity, and specifically resistance-based movement, the kind that challenges your muscles against some form of resistance, whether that's weights, resistance bands, or even your own body weight. Why does this matter so much? Muscle tissue isn't just for strength. It's metabolically active tissue that plays a role in how your body manages hormones, blood sugar, and inflammation. When you build or maintain muscle, you're supporting a whole system, not just your biceps. Research consistently shows that men who engage in regular resistance training tend to maintain higher testosterone levels than those who are sedentary, and that starting or restarting strength training later in life still produces meaningful benefits. This isn't a window that closes. Compound movements, the ones that work multiple large muscle groups at once, like squats, presses, rows, and step-ups, appear to have the strongest association with healthy hormone response. There's an important caution here, though. More isn't automatically better. Long, exhausting endurance sessions, especially when combined with too little food and too little rest, can push cortisol, your primary stress hormone, up in a way that works against testosterone rather than for it. The goal isn't to punish your body. It's brief, focused, resistance-based effort a few times a week paired with real recovery. A practical target that shows up again and again in the research. 2 to 3 sessions a week of resistance training, 20 to 30 minutes is enough, focused on the big muscle groups. Add daily walking on top of that, and you're covering both ends of the equation, strength and steady, low-stress movement. You don't need a gym membership or heavy equipment to start. Bodyweight squats, wall push-ups, resistance bands, even carrying groceries with intention, your muscles respond to being asked to work regardless of the tool. Now let's talk about what you're actually feeding this system, because the third factor is where a lot of well-meaning effort quietly goes to waste. Factor 3, nutrition. Feeding the system that makes the hormone. Your body needs specific raw materials to manufacture testosterone, and 2 nutrients come up again and again in the research as particularly important for men over 60, zinc and vitamin D. Zinc is directly involved in the biological machinery your body uses to produce testosterone. When zinc intake is low, that production process is genuinely constrained. It's not a minor influence, it's closer to a missing ingredient. Good food sources include oysters, which are exceptionally concentrated in zinc, along with lean beef, chicken, pumpkin seeds, and chickpeas. Vitamin D functions almost like a hormone itself, and there's a well-documented association between low vitamin D status and lower testosterone levels, particularly in older adults who spend less time outdoors than they did decades earlier. Sensible sun exposure, fatty fish like salmon and sardines, and egg yolks all contribute here. Beyond these two, overall dietary pattern matters more than any single nutrient. Diets that are very low in healthy fats have been associated with lower testosterone because your body actually uses fat as a building block for hormone production. This doesn't mean unlimited fried food. It means healthy fats. Olive oil, avocado, nuts, fatty fish. At the same time, diets heavy in ultra-processed food, added sugar, and inflammatory fats tend to move testosterone in the wrong direction. Alcohol is worth a direct mention. Long-term heavy drinking is one of the more consistently documented factors that suppresses testosterone production, and cutting back is one of the more immediately actionable steps available to most men. Here's a simple way to build a day around this. Breakfast built around eggs and something with healthy fat. Think eggs with avocado or a handful of nuts alongside fruit. Lunch centered on lean protein and vegetables. Chicken or fish with a generous side of greens dressed in olive oil. Dinner light and balanced with a source of zinc like beef or pumpkin seeds worked in a few times a week. Simple, repeatable, nothing exotic required. This is exactly where a lot of men go looking for a shortcut, a pill, a powder, a testosterone booster on a supplement shelf. And that brings us to the fourth factor, the one I said at the start most men get wrong, and it might surprise you. Factor 4, managing stress and body composition, the one most men overlook. The fourth factor isn't a nutrient or a workout. It's the relationship between chronic stress, body fat, and this hormone, And it's the piece that quietly undoes the other three if it's ignored. Here's the mechanism, and it's worth understanding clearly. Your body produces cortisol in response to stress. In short bursts, that's healthy and normal. But when stress becomes chronic, ongoing work pressure, financial worry, grief, poor sleep itself, cortisol stays elevated for long stretches. And cortisol and testosterone have what researchers describe as an inverse relationship. When one stays high, the other tends to be pushed down. Think of it like a seesaw. Your body only has so much capacity, and when it's constantly responding to a perceived threat, even one that's psychological rather than physical, it prioritizes short-term survival hormones over long-term building hormones like testosterone. That's not a character flaw, it's basic physiology. Body fat compounds this. Fat tissue, particularly around the midsection, contains an enzyme that actively converts testosterone into estrogen. So carrying excess weight doesn't just correlate with lower testosterone, it actively participates in lowering it. This becomes something of a loop. Lower testosterone makes it easier to gain fat, and more fat further lowers testosterone. Breaking that loop anywhere, through sleep, movement, or stress management, tends to help the whole system. The encouraging part is that this loop can be interrupted, and research on structured weight loss in men with elevated body fat has shown meaningful improvements in testosterone as excess weight comes down, often more than any single supplement produces on its own. What actually helps here isn't complicated, but it does take consistency. Daily movement outdoors, even 15 or 20 minutes, which helps regulate cortisol rhythm and supports vitamin D at the same time. Some form of deliberate downtime, reading, a hobby, time with people you enjoy, that isn't just another task on the list. And for many men, simply naming the sources of chronic stress in their life is the first step toward actually addressing them, rather than absorbing them silently. This is the piece that ties the other three together. Good sleep lowers stress hormones. Movement lowers stress hormones and burns fat. Good nutrition supports the whole system's resilience to stress. None of these work in isolation. They reinforce each other. Now that you understand all four factors, let's put them together into something you can actually use. Putting it together, a simple daily rhythm. You don't need to overhaul your entire life overnight. Small, consistent habits compound far more powerfully than dramatic short-term changes that don't last. Morning. Get natural light within the first hour of waking if you can, even 10 minutes on a porch or by a window with the curtains open. This helps set your body's internal clock, which supports both sleep quality that night and healthy cortisol rhythm through the day. Breakfast with protein and healthy fat, eggs or Greek yogurt with nuts. Midday, a walk, ideally outdoors. If it's a resistance training day, this is often the best time for it. 2 to 3 times a week is the target. 20 to 30 focused minutes. Lunch built around lean protein and vegetables. Afternoon, cut off caffeine. This one small change has an outsized effect on sleep quality later that night, which circles back to factor 1. Evening, a lighter dinner, screens down at least 30 minutes before bed, and a consistent bedtime. If stress has been building during the day, this is a good window for something calming. A short walk, a few minutes of quiet breathing, time with people you care about. A simple energy-supporting smoothie. If you want something practical to add to your morning, a handful of spinach, half a banana, a tablespoon of ground flaxseed or a small handful of walnuts, a cup of unsweetened milk of your choice, and a few ice cubes. Blend it all together. It's not a magic fix, nothing is, but it's a simple food-based way to work healthy fats, magnesium, and antioxidants into your morning without much effort. A few important precautions. I want to be direct about a few things before we wrap up. If you're genuinely concerned about your testosterone levels, the right next step is a conversation with your doctor and a simple blood test, ideally done in the morning when levels are naturally highest. That's the only way to know where you actually stand. Everything in this video is general education, not a diagnosis, and it can't substitute for that conversation. Be cautious with commercial testosterone booster supplements. The evidence behind most marketed blends is thin, inconsistent, or based on very limited studies, and some contain ingredients that can interact with medications, particularly blood pressure medication or blood thinners. If you're on any prescription medication or managing a condition like diabetes or heart disease, talk to your doctor before adding any new supplement, even ones marketed as natural. And if you are ever prescribed testosterone therapy by a doctor, that's a medical decision made with proper testing and monitoring. Nothing in this video is meant to replace that process or suggest you should attempt to self-treat. Closing. If this video gave you something useful, let me know in the comments. Tell me which of these 4 factors you're going to focus on first. I'd genuinely like to know. If you found this helpful, share it with someone who might need it. A friend, a brother, a father who's been writing off his low energy as just getting older. Sometimes the most useful thing you can give someone is the right question to ask their doctor. And if you haven't yet, subscribe and turn on notifications because there's more evidence-based, practical health content coming every week. The kind that respects your time and your intelligence. Strength after 60 isn't about chasing what you had at 30. It's about giving your body what it actually needs, consistently, so it can do its job the way it was built to. Sleep well, move with purpose, eat like it matters, and don't carry stress alone. Take care of yourself the way you'd take care of someone you love, because you deserve exactly that kind of care too. If this video gave you something useful today, that's exactly why I make these. Hit subscribe and turn on that notification bell because every week I'm breaking down the research on the things that actually matter for your strength, your energy, and your long-term health. No fluff, no gimmicks, just what the evidence actually shows. Drop a comment and let me know which of these 4 factors you're starting with this week. And if you know someone who could use this, a friend, a brother, someone who's been writing off how they feel as just getting older, send it their way. See you in the next one.